Welcome to McDougall. If you're uptight about sensitive subjects, you better hide under the pillow for this show. Hello, I'm Wayne Judd. And now, if you've got a chicken in the oven, he's got a bone to pick with you, Dr. John.
Everybody, a chicken in the pot, right?
Chicken in every pot. A chicken in every pot is one chicken too many, isn't it?
Well, you know, chickens are 50% fat, and that's without frying them.
About the same as beef and
Same
fish
amount
and
of
all the rest.
cholesterol as beef,
Bad news.
fish, no dietary fiber,
news.
no carbohydrate. It's basically changing from one kind of muscle to another when you switch from beef to chicken.
So, John, have you had any stress in your life lately? I understand.
I have stress all the time. I love it.
I understand that you had a little stress this morning when a patrolman pulled you over and gave you a traffic ticket on the way into the studio. Is that correct?
Why do you tell
Would
such
you like to
things like
confess
that?
to our viewing audience today?
Yes, that was stress.
So maybe we should talk about stress and see if we can help the doctor a little bit.
Well, stress gets me to not do things like that anymore.
Stress is helpful because now you're going to be more careful in the future?
Be more careful, right. It's not that I tried to break the law.
Did your wife know about this yet?
Not yet.
Is that going to be more stress?
She does now.
You think she's watching the monitor?
Stress is kind of an interesting thing, and my opinion on stress may not be shared by a lot of folks. But I look at stress as a necessary part of human life. It gets the problems resolved, the jobs done. It's a motivator.
You like stress?
And I do. I like stress. Now, stress can be uncomfortable. It can be darn right unpleasant, but I think it's a necessary, normal part of life. And if you wanted to take and ruin my life and really make me very stressful, is you'd take my usual stresses away, you'd give me a book, set me on a beach, and I'd go nuts in about 2 or 3 hours.
That's interesting. So for some people, getting rid of stress is stressful.
Stress is, yes, it is. And stress has been used as a scapegoat. And people like it as a scapegoat because when you say, well, your diseases are due to stress, what can you do about stress? You just say, well, you know, I can do nothing about it and just go on. I can't believe that the diseases that people have today are due to stress. For example, we're told heart disease is due to stress, high blood pressure is due to stress, multiple sclerosis, arthritis, and so on. But what I see is, historically, and also in the world today, these diseases did not exist in parts of the world where people didn't eat the rich American diet. Even today, in rural China or in rural Japan or in African countries, heart disease is virtually unknown. And yet they have stress.
They have stress in those countries.
They have difficulties.
We know that.
They have problems with infidelity. They have problems making ends meet financially.
Absolutely.
They have problems with their children being sick, tremendous stress, and yet they don't get these diseases. And you know, Wayne, as a doctor, I have a privilege that very few people have. I get a chance to talk to people and to find out personal things about their lives.
Yes.
And over 25 years of talking to people in the doctor-patient relationship, they've told me all kinds of very personal things, and I've come to the conclusion that most of us are basically the same. Life is difficult.
Yes.
We've got to deal with financial problems, we've got to deal with our spouses, we have to deal with our coworkers, and life is difficult, and I find it a similar difficulty for 98% of the people.
Well, so that won't kill you?
No, I think it's a normal part of life. 2% of people may have this wonderful life. 2% of people, the stress on their life really may be debilitating, make them sick. But for most of it, life is difficult, and we just put one foot in front of the other, as they say in the military, and we just continue to make it through life. Now, I think it's important to look at stress this way because I don't know any effective way to get away from stress, but I do know how you can keep stress from giving you disease.
Good.
The way we use stress in our society is we get stressed out, and the way it hurts us is we drink more coffee, we drink more alcohol, we abandon our exercise programs, we eat more rich foods when we get under stress. In other words, we start getting self-destructive when under stressful situations. And if it's a stressful situation, say like a big report you have to get done, when you get done with that stressful situation, then you reward yourself with a big piece of cheesecake.
Why do we do that? I mean, if the other countries don't have...
they don't have these, they don't have these substances, they don't have these bad habits to turn to for that self-destructive behavior.
Right.
Now, if people realize this, if they realize that stress is a normal, natural part of life, you want to make it as painless as possible. And there are things you can do like exercise, get involved in your religion, your hobbies, and many, many things you can do to make it less painful. You're not going to get rid of it. But if you realize that it's not a toxin that's in itself, unless you allow it to be self-destructive by your behaviors, then you don't have to let it get to you, and you don't have to get disease as a result of being normally and naturally stressed.
Good. So if you have a type A personality, you should have a type B attitude toward that type A personality and relax, enjoy yourself.
I'm glad type A personalities are fine because I'd have a tough time.
Oh, me too.
You're a type A
Me too, absolutely.
Double, triple A maybe?
Not as bad as you, but I'm right up there.
Well, with that useful information, I hope you sleep better tonight.
I will sleep well tonight.
We have
Thank
a
you.
great show. We have a very useful information coming up, male problems, men's problems we're going to be talking about. We're going to talk about how to deal with prostate disease. We're going to talk about some of the prostate tests, and you're going to be shocked by some of the things my guest has to say. Dr. Ronald Sorensen is going to be with us. He's a world-renowned urologist, and so we'll be back with you in just a minute after these commercial breaks.
We learned English.
Your kids can too.
Just watch Hello Channel.
I remember a time when I wasn't being very nice to one of the girls at school. I didn't think it was a big deal. But in one sentence, my mom helped me understand. She said, "Mija, you need to treat others the way you want to be treated." I thought about that a lot. I still do.
Life's most important lessons are best learned in the home. A message from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Welcome back. With me, Dr. Ronald Sorensen, MD, urologist. He's from Windsor, Canada, and I want you to get pencil and paper ready because I'm going to give you an 800 number so you can get in contact with his services because he has lots of exciting things to talk about. Do you think this tie is...
I've been looking at that tie.
Is that stress relieving or stress producing? This is an amazing tie you have.
Is this a conservative physician or is this
this is a Nicole Miller creation.
Oh, that's a Nicole Miller.
And she takes a theme and then
Right.
breaks out
There's
on that.
some-
I mean, you can see that
obviously a
a
medical
little bit of
thing.
acupuncture and EKG and
We've got all the medical stuff on
canola
there.
oil.
Well, that's better
that's
than
a long
some,
story. Before we get into the instrument that you brought here, I'd like to know from a urologist's point of view a little bit about the controversy that's going on in terms of early detection for prostate cancer. The scientific literature, as I read it, is telling a story considerably different than what the American public is getting in terms of prostatic-specific antigen, that blood test, in terms of digital rectal examination, and in terms of ultrasound. How do you read it?
Well, I think that I think you've drawn obviously attention to it, but it's not so much a little controversy. There's a lot of controversy.
A lot of controversy.
And I don't think the final answer is in. There's no doubt about it that in high-risk groups, you know, we know that there are about 12.5% now of prostate cancer is familial. So that in high-risk groups, those plus Black Afro-Americans, we do know that there is an increased risk of prostate cancer.
Right, but will these tests that people are asked to get so often, will they reduce the chance of them dying, is the big question. Has that been shown?
I'm not sure that it actually reduces the chance of them dying, but it in many cases will definitely improve the quality of life.
How would it do that?
A lot of problems that we see with without dealing with the local tumor itself at the level of the prostate, be it with radiotherapy or with surgery, when the tumor does escape hormonal control, if you know, obviously in those situations usually you will ultimately begin treatment with hormones.
Well, let me just, as long as I got you here, let me kind of put you on the spot again. There was an article in USA Today, May 17, 1994, that offered 3 options to treating prostate cancer. And what they said is you could have surgery, you could have radiation, or you could have watchful waiting. And the authors of this article in USA Today said the difference was whether or not you become incontinent or impotent, but the survival was the same between the 3. And watchful waiting is doing nothing. Is that an unfair thing for the USA Today to print?
I think statistics, with statistics you can always manipulate the figures.
And?
I mean, I can tell you about scenarios with patients who really have just terrible outcomes ultimately because of the local problem, the disease locally.
Okay.
They may end up living the same amount of time, but in those patients that you have dealt with the local tumor, Many of them at least will have a better quality.
But
of life from that
complications are
standpoint.
common, which really brings
They
us
are,
into
but-
why I wanted you to come today.
They are,
But I
but
had to
we-
put you on the spot on those two things because the American public, I think, has much more faith in the medical business than the medical research really supports. Was that fair?
I think it's a very
Now, what I'm hearing, John, is you're saying the tests are unnecessary, and you're saying that they are,
They're
Dr. Sorensen?
oversold.
I think that they can be overdone. There's no,
Oversold.
Okay.
there's no doubt about it. I
The
mean,
American
I have patients, and I don't have to go into a whole lot of detail, who
Right.
come in with multiple, and every 3 months they're having another biopsy because the PSA is elevated.
Right.
And they're negative, they're negative, they're negative. Why are they having
So
biopsies?
well, at least I hope we got our viewing audience to start questioning these things, both the early detection techniques and the treatments. It's a story that we could go on for a couple of 2-hour shows. But when people get treated for prostate cancer, they often end up with a complication that I really want to talk to you about, and that's incontinence. Is that correct?
Urinary incontinence.
How else would people get incontinence that you'd like to treat by a technique that you found very helpful?
Well, nowadays we don't see it much, but after transurethral prostatectomy in the olden days when there were people that weren't very well trained in the operation, there's no doubt that was a potential complication. We don't see that almost exclusively at all these days.
Okay, so sometimes through
Most of the patients, the male patients with urinary incontinence are males who have had radical prostatectomies. We can see incontinence in other conditions that cause the bladder to shrink. They've been radiated for bladder cancer, or they've been radiated for prostate cancer. They're going to be scatter enough that the wall of the bladder becomes very non-compliant. These ones are very difficult to deal
So
with.
generally secondary to therapy, we get into the incontinence problem where they have to wear a diaper or a catheter. Is that right?
That's correct.
And that's
Or
all you can do?
condom
You
or-
can't fix it?
Well, that's why I asked Dr. Sorensen to be here, because there is a way to fix it, a relatively simple way. Can you tell us how you go about doing this?
Well, what we're talking about today is the use of a material called Teflon. We've all heard of Teflon and coating pans and so on. This is-
Politics and other arenas.
That's right.
Yeah, right.
In any event, here what we have is we have the Teflon, which is a relatively inert material that we can inject in and around where the sphincter normally is. Now, in radical prostatectomies, there are several approaches to it. We won't get into all the details. It can be an open procedure from above or another one from below called a perineal prostatectomy. Now, the urethral sphincter in the male is very, I think we can see out here, is just, here's the prostate. We're actually looking at it upside down,
yeah.
but here's the prostate here. When the prostate's been removed, there are some very important sphincters at the level of the bladder neck.
Now, the sphincters keep
Muscles.
the urine from leaking out.
Yes,
That's
they do.
for the purpose,
That's
okay,
right.
and they get damaged.
And the voluntary sphincter lower down. Well, these can get damaged, as
Yes.
you've mentioned. And as a consequence, there's nothing to resist the flow of urine. By using a cystoscope, which is just a telescope to introduce into the urethra, we see it in the diagram, through the side port, we can advance a very long catheter. This is a high-pressure system.
Right.
Teflon is a very, very viscous paste. And through this catheter, using the injector device, again, which is very high pressure, we can put the material, place it just around the urethra at the level of that sphincter.
And restore continence.
And increase resistance.
Okay.
Call
You
it-
do this in Windsor, Canada. Is it done in parts of the United States, the same procedure?
At the present time, it's not.
It's not, so
There
people
were
have
some research, in fact, a fair number of cases that were done as part of a research.
have to wait for approval.
study.
Or let me give you an 800 number. It's 1-800-668-8868. That's 1-800-668-8868 for a simple, relatively, compared to other treatments, relatively inexpensive way to do it. I want to thank you very much. I like your conservative approach. And when we come back, we're going to cook. Would you like to join us for this cooking segment?
sure.
Are you not in a rush to get back to
wait
Windsor?
till-
We'll be back after this commercial break.
Learn English and have fun.
And welcome back. Joining us is Mary McDougall, the co-author of the McDougall books. Thank you very much for coming by the show.
Well, I like to do this. It's
You're
fun to
going
cook.
to demonstrate to Wayne and Ronald the way we eat. Dr. Sorensen, do you eat a vegetarian diet yet?
Not yet.
Not yet.
I got the books.
I saw
may-
him walk off with your books, John.
This may be your first introduction to this kind. Well, The recipe you picked is going to be an easy one for him, isn't it?
It is, because seitan is a wheat gluten product, and it tastes surprisingly like meat.
And looks an awful lot like meat.
It looks an awful lot like meat also.
You could get fooled, to say the least. Seitan, tell them what seitan is.
Seitan is wheat gluten, so it's the gluten part of the wheat, and it's all basically pretty much protein.
And how do you get one of those seitans? Do you have to chase it down and
actually,
slaughter it?
You can buy it already prepared, so you don't have to go to a lot of effort. You can also buy it in instant form in a box and make it up that way. And if you're really ambitious, you can buy whole wheat flour. Remember me doing that in the sink? And you take the whole flour and put it in a big container and run cold water on it, and all the time you go like this with your hands, and pretty soon you end up with this glob of wheat gluten, and it's just this pretty clear, colorless product.
Sounds awful.
I'll buy the box.
This looks a little bit more like
Beyond roast beef.
Beyond roast beef, it's called.
Yes.
Ready to use.
And it's an easy transition food for people. Now we're talking about something that's extremely low fat.
Yes.
And it is quite high in protein, but it's used as a garnish. And no cholesterol, high fiber, and so very healthy.
That's what it looks like when we get it out of the bag.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Thought I'd give you a
So how do
look
you go
at
about
it.
making this
Well,
dish?
this dish is really quite easy, and the reason I picked this dish is because remember a couple of years ago when your mother was over?
Yes, my mother.
And I made pasta, and John's mother can tend to be a little
Very
fussy
finicky.
about what she eats.
Yes.
And I made this and the traditional pasta sauce, and she just fell in love with this. And finished eating it the next day and the day after that. And so I figured if she liked it,
Right.
then everybody would like
Yeah,
it.
she has there are about 6 things she likes, and that's it. And this would be the 7th.
Did you say what you're cooking in there? What you're
Well, this is just water.
Okay, because it looked like a lot of grease in there, John.
No, just water.
Are you kidding?
You can saute almost everything
In water. Use water.
It works just fine. And so you start out with onions and
Can we do it, Rob?
mushrooms, and
Maybe now.
then you put the seitan in, this is what it looks like when you start out. This is the kind that they made from a box mix.
But that's not what
That's
this is.
not the same thing.
Doesn't look
this
the
is
same.
you have to make it up yourself, but it'll taste almost exactly the same.
Great. Let's go.
And then, we could get you
So you
one
put
stirring
the
over here, Wayne.
Oh, I'd be glad to stir.
Okay.
If you make it a half a pound, you just put
I
a
do
half
like
a pound
to
of
stir.
seitan in.
Right.
Now, Mary,
yes.
you can get these onions look brown
Take my jacket off.
in the finished product. Do you have any problem getting them brown?
No, because this is going to cook for a little while. We will not be able to finish seeing
Right.
this cook. This will cook for about 45 minutes.
No, I think a lot of people think that you have to have
You have
oil.
to have oil to get your onions brown.
Right.
That's not true at all. You use a little bit of water, and as the water evaporates and you stir the onions tend to get brown because the water is evaporating, and they taste wonderful.
It actually smells good. I don't know what's going on in there, but it sure smells good.
We put in a little non-alcoholic red wine.
Mary, since I've been working with Wayne over the last 5 months, he has changed his diet. He is now,
He was telling me that.
yes, he is
right.
now a vegetarian. This is going to be easy for him. I don't know about
Ron, we have to work on.
All right, we put
He's
in some
gonna be the
vegetable
There's
broth,
always a chance.
Some soy
We're working
sauce?
on you, too.
Yeah, there you go.
and then we're going to add the seasonings.
I'm sorry, Mary, what did you just put
I
in the
put
soy
in
sauce?
vegetable broth and soy sauce.
Okay. Oh,
and
it
now we're going
smells
to put
wonderful.
in some.
Spices.
Now, this is actually what's in the completed dish over there.
That's right. And we're just kind of showing people how easy it is to make.
Simple. It's another one of those dishes you can
I
make.
could do this.
You could do this.
Absolutely.
I couldn't do it, though.
Oh, yes. Well, you don't have to. You're married to Mary. That's amazing.
And that's it.
And how long does it cook
It
for?
cooks for 45 minutes.
Well, how about-
And then you add a little bit of cornstarch
to
and water
thicken it?
to thicken it up. But we can't do that until it's all
Now,
finished
is this
cooking.
another one of those recipes where if you didn't add the cornstarch, you could freeze it and take it out later and
Yes,
finish it?
yes. Whenever you use cornstarch, you can only use it the way it is. If you put it in the freezer and then take it out, it'll be all gritty.
And so, if you say you want to make a double batch, you could have
You
some
could
that
take-
evening,
yes.
and then you could
You
freeze the
remove it
rest of it, and then
first,
add the
right.
cornstarch later. Could you dish a little of that out, Mary?
Oh, I can do that. Let's see, do we have a spoon? Nope, so we'll do it this way.
I think when
you're
you're
going to put this over pasta, are you?
we need Dr. Sorensen.
I'm not going to do that this time.
Okay.
Because, I mean, that's the way you would serve it over pasta
rice.
or
We'd have
rice.
it over rice.
Or potatoes. It's good over potatoes.
So, and this food is good for urologists, isn't it? I understand it's good for your prostate.
This food, and no question about it, this is the food that you want to tell your patients to eat to prevent prostate cancer.
There we go.
Yeah. And
I
we
should
know
practice
that,
what I preach, right?
That's right. Well, you do teach people that, don't you? Tell them that
right,
prostate
now you can
cancer
try
is due to
some.
I'm going to try it.
beef
Even if I don't like it, I'll preach because I'm on this show. But I don't know about Dr. Sorensen over
That's really tender.
It is.
Oh, that's wonderful, Mary. Oh, I'm so sorry for our studio audience. They don't get any of this.
Maybe we got a lot here. Maybe we can find some dishes around.
Oh, that's great.
Tastes a lot like meat, doesn't it?
Well, it tastes better than meat. Why would you want meat when you've got this?
That's right.
And the scientific literature is getting pretty overwhelmed. Most urologists are talking in terms of beef and other animal fats.
Animal fats, definitely.
Causing prostate cancer, and of course,
If you look at Japan versus the worst case scenario in North America with the Afro-Americans, it's about 45 times the risk.
45 times more prostate cancer in African Americans than, oh my goodness.
Another very interesting statistic, John, is if you transplant a Japanese person from Japan and put him in North America, his risk goes significantly upwards.
See, you've made this connection. Now you are stuck. You are.
It's tremendous.
This is the conversion.
I think we're seeing a
from
convert
somebody
here
to
today,
a
folks.
vegetarian. Dr. Sorensen, I want to thank you very much for joining us in this segment. And Mary, great job. You did a wonderful job. Mary McDougall.
Thank you.
And we'll be back after this commercial break.
Why should you watch Hello Channel? Because learning English should be inexpensive, and learning English should be available to everyone. If you want a brighter future, join us and say hello.
And welcome back. I think we're about to hear a conversion here. You say you've tried a few vegetarian meals?
Yes, I have. I've had the vegetarian lasagna and also the vegetarian chili.
And
it's hard to tell the difference.
Hard to tell the difference between
Really
what
is.
we were raised on, And how about this one? How's this dish fit? You can take this one back to Windsor.
Yep.
There we go. As I remember, the folks in the Midwest really need a lot of help in terms of changing their diet. What do you call this?
That's right. We have
recipe,
to drink the Great Lakes water. We got to do something.
That's right.
This is called Seitan Bourguignon. It's sort of patterned after the beef bourguignon that you make with wine and
Are the sauces?
mushrooms.
Is the sauce the same as?
The sauce is the same, yes.
And just to give you a little plug, Mary, where can you get this recipe?
You can get this recipe in the new McDougall cookbook.
Which happens to be Mary's cookbook, yes. And
That's great.
You might get it in any of the bookstores, and along with 330 other recipes.
Mary, it's so fun to have you on the show and to get acquainted with you a little bit better. I mean, you do live with John, and you've endured that.
Now you can understand why my good side, right?
Yes, I do.
That's
I'd be
right.
pleased.
He wondered if there was anything good in my life.
No, that's not true. Anyway.
Well, it's sure been great having you on, Dr. Sorensen, to tell us all of the different issues. Conservative therapy, that's the kind of doctors that I like to have. And Mary, it's great having you on because I like to share with other people all the wonderful eating that I do at home. This is the best way in the world there is to eat. Thank you both.
You're a lucky
And I want
guy.
to thank you very much for being with us, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye. Bye.